today is a sad day because we are gonna break our own hearts. We are gonna read 1-star reviews of some of our favorite books, some of my favorite books. But first, welcome back to the channel where we read between mental breakdowns because books are, in fact, cheaper than therapy. I'm Tara, let's jump into it. Now, let it first be said that just because I'm saying these are like some of my favorite books, that is not me saying that these are like the best books that are ever written. In fact, I would argue that many of you would think these books are trash, and that's fine. It's fine. We are on my channel. If you want to talk about your favorite books, I encourage you to make your own booktube channel. You know what I'm saying? I like books that make me feel. I like books that even if they weren't written the best or they have a lot of controversy surrounding them, they make me think years later. And that's kind of what some of these books are. You know, just keep that in mind. Be kind in the comment section. Like, this whole like judging what other people read because we deem it like low class or like makes you not a real reader. Girl, I was reading beyond a high school level in the 3rd grade. So if reading certain books makes me not a reader, I don't care. Let's start strong by talking about a book that I would argue the masses generally don't like. And there's a very specific reason for it, and I'm sure we will touch on it here. But we're gonna start with A Little Life. I know, why don't we start this video very dark? I'm sorry. It's just A Little Life is a book that, listen, was it too long? Yes. But the ending left such an impact on me that I think about it all the time. I read it back in November of 2024, and I think about Jude like every single day of my life. When a book has that kind of impact on me, can I not say that it is one of my favorite books? Because clearly it did something to me. I only finished it so I could say with full confidence that I would never recommend this book to anyone. And you know what? True. A Little Life is not really a book that you recommend to people. This one's a little bit longer. A Little Life was a little too fucking long. Over 750 pages of constant pain, misery, and suffering. I was told that by the end I would be sobbing, and while the ending was sad, honestly, I was just relieved that it was over. Also, it should be noted that the author has said that she does not believe in therapy, talk therapy to be precise, and as a psychology student, I don't know what to make of that. So I wanted to include this one because there is a lot that I actually pretty much agree with this whole review, which is crazy because again, we're talking about our favorite books here. But let me kind of break it down for you a little bit. A Little Life was a little too fucking long. True. It could have been skimmed down significantly, and I do know that the author, I think she said that like her editor wanted her to skim it down, but she was like, no, it needs to have this, it needs to have all of this, and I trust my gut, and she feels ultimately good about that after it had been published. But it didn't really need to be as long as it was. 750 pages of constant pain, misery, and suffering. True, it was just like back to back to back suffering. I was told by the end that I would be sobbing, and while the ending was sad, blah blah blah. So here's why A Little Life is one of my favorite books. Was the ending sad? Yes. But what I tell people, it was like devastatingly, heartbreakingly beautiful. It was sad, but the reason I was sobbing, it is the only book to ever have made me sob. The reason I was sobbing is because it was like a life lesson, and it just like touched my soul, like the way that grief was touched on, the way it was talked about not being able to save a person that you so desperately want to save. It wasn't sad to me, it was more just like the heartbreakingly, devastatingly beautiful like cycle of life, and just like loving somebody who can be really difficult to love. So I do get what they're saying there. And then the end, she said that the author has said that she does not believe in therapy. This is a hard one. I think I haven't done a lot of research, but I do know that the author had said that she doesn't believe that therapy works for everyone. I don't know if she says she doesn't believe in therapy, and if that's the case, I know a lot of people like that. There are a lot of people in my life that they feel like therapy is just a place to complain and to talk and not to actually like find solutions. I was a psychology major myself, so I obviously don't agree with that. But I do agree, well, I don't want to say I agree because I don't necessarily agree. I think that anybody should give therapy a chance. But I understand, I guess is what I'm saying, where the author was coming from and saying that for some people, they've just been through so much trauma, they've been through so much back-to-back trauma that therapy doesn't work for them. But I don't really agree with that, because I think if somebody really puts in the work and gives it the time, some people might need therapy for longer than others. And so no, I don't agree with that. I don't know that there's anybody that therapy wouldn't benefit, because I think if a person finds one therapist and it doesn't work for them, they need to keep looking to find a therapist that does work for them, although they are constantly re-triggering themselves by having to break down their story with a new person. But also, with that said, not only is it the therapist themselves, but the kind of therapy. Like maybe a certain person wouldn't benefit from talk therapy, but they would benefit from EMDR or cognitive therapy. So it's a very loaded topic, but I do find it interesting that the author essentially wrote a book like, what would it look like if therapy didn't work for them? And I think we have to be more open. I see a lot of people that instantly shut down a book because they're like, this should not be written about. This should not be a belief. We cannot shut down voices that we don't agree with. We need to constantly surround ourselves around people that have different views than us, that believe different things than us, because we're gonna stay stagnant. We're not gonna grow, we're not gonna get better, we're not gonna get stronger if we just live in a bubble of our own beliefs. I find books interesting from authors that have thought processes that maybe the masses don't agree with. So I don't know if that makes sense, and hopefully that doesn't come off controversial. I'm just saying, I think it's interesting that she took this concept that many people don't agree with and she wrote a book about it. That's all. I'm free! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, worst experience of my life. And you know what? Real. Same. Worst and best experience of my life. Misery, corn. Or as Shakespeare so eloquently stated, a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Now, I wanted to talk about this comment because it is, I would say, the most argumented comment about this book is that A Little Life is just misery or trauma corn. I disagree with that. I think I have seen that. I've noticed over the years, anytime a book is really heavy or really dark, the first comments I see are, that was not necessary. The author shouldn't have written that. That didn't need to happen. This could have happened instead. This is not realistic. And to that I say, it's not realistic to you. Now, if I'm being honest with myself, there was a point, and it was towards the very end, where I was like, okay, like, is this person really just gonna keep going through these things? Like, at some point it I'm just being honest, it did kind of seem unbelievable. However, for people to say that it is not believable that a person would experience this much back-to-back trauma in their life, that is just false. The thing about trauma, and I made a TikTok about this once upon a time, so I'm not gonna go too in-depth about it. The thing about trauma is people that experience trauma, especially people that experience trauma at a young age, they consistently oftentimes find themselves either repeating trauma or ending up in circumstances that create new trauma. So for a kid, in this instance Jude, to have so much trauma as a child, which is very real trauma. This is a very real story at the beginning, that there are children, unfortunately, that do go through that kind of trauma. It is very, very, very common for children like that to grow up and constantly find themselves in repeating trauma or new trauma. So I just don't agree with that take. I don't agree that every book should just censor and not, tell the real deal. This stuff is very real, and if you can't handle it, you shouldn't read it. I do think there should be conversations about it, how it's handled, if it's handled delicately. I agree with that, but I don't think that just because something is sad, we should dismiss it as trauma corn. Okay, let's move on to a book that's just a little more fun, a little less heavy, although it starts heavy, which is probably why I was into it. We're gonna move on to Legendborn. I only have a few comments for this one because I tried to keep the reviews short, and surprisingly for a lot of these books there weren't a lot of short quippy reviews. This writing was not for me. The story didn't excite me. And I will say that while I loved Legendborn, I rated it a 5-star. I think the writing is gorgeous. I am so excited to read more of the author's work. I will say that there were parts of it that just bored me to tears. So it's crazy to say like I rated it a 5-star and it's one of my favorite books, but it was like there were parts that completely pulled me in and I was so like intoxicated by it, and then there were parts that I was bored to tears. So I think it took me like 2.5, 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Why did that sound funny coming out of my mouth? 3 weeks to read the book. So I do understand why they're saying the story didn't excite me. It was a lot. I did not understand. Literally could not follow the words that were happening. Real. When I tell you Legendborn has so many different titles that you need to understand, honestly, I kind of feel like if you're reading Legendborn, you should like have a notebook and kind of write out the pyramid and how it works, because there are so many different titles. It's so many different titles, and you're not just dealing with like one kind of magic. You're dealing with the real world, you're dealing with magic of this type, you're dealing with magic of this type. There is so much, and I guess I'm kind of out of practice reading fantasy books because I was overwhelmed. I was so confused some of the time. And in fantasy books, whenever I'm confused, I kind of just like keep reading and hope that it eventually clicks. I don't recommend doing that with this book. You need to kind of like pay attention and understand it while you're reading it. So, you know what? This is not wrong. I mean, I reread and DNF'd it. It's all good, but this is me, not you type for me. So I don't understand that. I reread and DNF'd it. Did you not read it the first time and realize maybe this book wasn't for you? Did you read it at a different point in your life when it made sense and when it worked for you, and then you came back to it and you were like, oh yeah, I don't like this book? Legendborn is not really a book that I would reread. It is long, it is a lot, it is chocked full of information, and I'm very, very confused why you would reread it only to DNF it. It makes no sense to me. Honestly, this was so confusing that I don't even know what happened. I'm telling you guys, the bulk of the reviews were like, there was way too much happening, there's way too many different titles, there's way too much of this. It's a lot. So I think that Tracy Deonn did a beautiful job of breaking it down and explaining it so it wasn't super confusing. But for somebody like me who reads before bed, like that's how I calm my brain, it's how I go to sleep, it was a lot. It was a lot to go to sleep with. You know what I'm saying? Like, just bring your notebook. We're gonna move on to, and I only have 3, why do I only have 3 reviews for this? We're gonna move on to a well-known, very popular book that I'm sure many people will agree is not the best book, but I will say years and years later, it is a book that I still think about all the time. And I actually want to reread it to see if it touches me the same way it did when I first read it, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now, I will say, I live in Florida, and the first time I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, we had just had a hurricane, so our power was out for days at a time, and I picked up the book and I read it in 24 hours because there was like literally nothing to do. We had no power, we were in the middle of a storm, we were in the middle of cleanup. I blew through it, which is why I would like to reread it and see like maybe it was just kind of like one of those like certain time in the life that it worked, you know what I'm saying? But the first comment is didn't finish. And these comments confuse me. If I read a book and it was something about it made it to where I was like, I can't finish this book, I'm either not going to write a review or I'm going to write the review and say, look, I really, you know, had hope for this, blah, 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 but this is why I didn't finish. They literally just said, didn't finish. And to that I asked, ¿por qué? Oh, that's right, you don't know Spanish. Why?
¿Por qué? Oh, you don't know Spanish, do you? Why?
My life is ruined, thank you. Out of all the books that could ruin you, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, now clearly I like this book, it's why it's in this video, but what about The 7 Husbands ruined you? The most overrated shit. And you know what? Fair. Again, is it the best book to ever have been written? I don't know. I mean, clearly I enjoyed it. I'm sitting here defending it in a video that I'm sharing with you guys, but we like what we like. Book Talk books, booktube books, it is amazing how the algorithm picks up books and just like throws them out to everybody. But I will say there is a lot of talk about how, like, you know, why is this book everywhere on booktube and book talk and whatever, and like it's overrated. Well, here's the thing. Clearly, if you're hearing about it a lot, that means a lot of people are enjoying it. So even if you think it's a bad book, there is clearly something about it that is appealing to the masses. So we have got to stop with, like, I mean, I'm being lighthearted with this. This is funny, the most overrated shit, but like, we have got to stop being like, this book was recommended on, you know, whatever platform and it's trash. Like, why does everybody like it? Well, clearly there's a reason everybody likes it. I personally cannot stand Frida McFadden books. I think they are trash. I think they are awful. I think they read like they're written by AI. I think the characters are stupid. I could sit here all day long and tell you how much I dislike Frida McFadden books, but I can also sit here and tell you I understand why people like them. Whatever happened to like empathy or like shades of gray, not necessarily thinking black or white? Like, there is, I can understand why people like Frida McFadden books. They're quick, they're easy read. If you're on a plane, you can knock one out from point A to point B. They're predictable. It's kind of like watching like a Lifetime movie. You know what you're gonna get, or a Hallmark movie. Like, there's not a whole lot that's happening. The plot is kind of ridiculous, but you know what you're getting. It's like a comfort thing. You see how we did that there? I can tell you this for free. Like, I can't stand the author. Well, I don't know the author, but I can't stand her writing. I can't stand the books, but I can tell you why people enjoy them. You see what we did there? Maybe let's normalize not just like taking a big heaping pile of on things that other people enjoy. We're gonna finish off strong with another very sad, very depressing book, and I'm more so talking about the series itself, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna talk about the most recently released book, which is Releasing 10 in the Boys of Tommen series. Interesting, I am doing Releasing 10 because I would say that that is probably the most controversial book of the series. It has people really divided, but I need you to know that, like, the Boys of Tommen series is a god tier series to me, and it doesn't make any sense. I talked about this in my introduction video or whatever video I recorded last week. It doesn't make any sense. Like, Boys of Tommen is kind of everything I typically don't enjoy in a book. I don't enjoy books that take place in high schools. I typically don't enjoy like reading about like young adults, like children, like 20 years old, yeah, sure, but like high schoolers, I don't enjoy that. It's long, it's I don't know where I cut the video because my cat was like eating something, but I think I was saying I don't typically enjoy books that are just like rambly just for the sake of being rambly. Actually, that's not true. I enjoy rambly books, but I don't enjoy rambly conversations, basically. And the thing about, y'all, this cat is gonna make me lose my sanity. The thing about the Boys of Tommen is the conversations go on entirely too long. They are unnecessarily long, and yet I still like eat them up. I don't know why I love this series, but I just do. Straight up trauma corn. Chloe Walsh, never pick up a pen again. And see, we already talked about this, but it's another book where an author writes about deeply, deeply disturbing, sad things, and people are like, why are you writing this? What is wrong with you? Is there never to be a book written about that kind of trauma? And again, I can understand if you can make the comment that, yeah, but it's the way that it's written, it's not delicate. But then we have people that love Frida McFadden, and she wrote a book about a teacher having an inappropriate relationship with a student, and then his wife is upset about him doing that, but yet at the end of the book you find out that she also was having an inappropriate relationship with a student. So we're okay with, there's certain words I can't say on YouTube. We're okay with adult-child relationships and reading that for entertainment, but we draw the line at a different kind of trauma in a book, and that's what I don't understand. Again, let's have the conversation about how it is written, and is it delicate, does it serve a purpose? But like, to say never pick up a pen again, I don't think this is trauma corn at all. So again, I think we just need to, I don't know, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I think we need to open our minds a little bit and think about, like, think outside of our own experiences. I wish I could unread this. Real. You guys, I'm sitting here and I hear a cat crying, but I was like, oh, my cat is locked in the bathroom, but 3 of my cats are here, and now my other cat is growling. Hold on. Y'all, we took a brief intermission for like 10 minutes because I heard a cat crying and my cat's here started to growl, and I looked out my window and I saw a black cat and I thought it was one of my rescues. In case you missed that in my introduction video, I work in an animal rescue and I have rescue cats. So I went out to go outside and like call my cat inside, and it wasn't my cat. Anyway, so as of right now, as I'm filming this, I have a stray cat on my porch and I am so distracted all of a sudden, but we're gonna finish this up. So I think I ended saying I wish I could unread this, and I said, you know what? Real, because a part of me wishes that I never read this book either, because now it's like embedded deep in my soul. It's tattooed on my body. We had been asking for this, but yet we weren't asking for this, okay? I'm so distracted. Pre-reading should have been a book on literally anyone else, but okay. Oh my god, I'm sitting here like filming this how distracted I am. I thought I was reading about A Little Life. No, we are reading about Releasing 10. Okay, wish I could unread this. I don't wish I could unread it, but I do wish that I could not read some of the things that were in the book. Pre-reading should have been a book on literally anyone else, but okay. Post-reading, what in the actual... Relatable. Okay, here's the thing. When we were told we were getting a Hugh and Lizzie book, my first thought was, I don't care. My second thought was, now, this is how Chloe Walsh gets me. These are two characters that I could not care any less about. Like, I just don't care. Hugh was like a bag of flour for me, did nothing for me. Lizzie, I didn't care because she was coming after my boy Gibbsy, okay? But I know Chloe Walsh and I know the power of her writing, so I knew that she would make me care about these characters, and that in fact is what happened. Now, the way that I protect Hugh with my whole heart and soul, in the way, I mean, Lizzie, look, Lizzie is tough because I have so much empathy and sympathy for just her experience, and obviously anybody that has gone through that kind of trauma, you want to hold them so close to you, but it's really hard to like unlearn the feelings and the emotions that you have based on past books and how she was treating other people. So it's like there is that, but obviously we care about Lizzie, but Hugh has like my whole heart and soul. That's the magic of Chloe Walsh. There are other authors where each book has a new character and you find the book kind of boring because you're like, I don't care about these characters. But the way that Chloe Walsh weaves all of her characters and all of the books together, I think she just does it beautifully. It is so bad I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible, so I give you a 1. I included this one just for the reference. Like,
it is so bad I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible, so I give you a 1.
And last one, what a way to end this video. I don't like this book. And you know what? Fair. I love this book, but again, I love it, you hate it, I like it, you don't like it. That's what reading is. How about we just like stop judging people for what they enjoy and let people enjoy books? So this was rough. This was rough. Thankfully, none of the comments were too harsh. So at the end of this video, again, I just want to re-emphasize, just because somebody enjoys a book or a series that you don't enjoy does not make them any less intelligent of a reader. It doesn't make them any less of a reader. We have got to stop with that. You know what? I read Rebecca, which is a classic, and I hated it. I thought it was an awful book. I did not enjoy it. Does that make me an awful person? Does that make me not a real reader, even though I read books every day of my life and I'm passionate about them and I love them and I collect them and my children read them and I've been reading to my kids since they were babies? Does me not liking a classic like Rebecca and loving a book like Releasing 10, does that make me not a real reader? I don't know. I mean, I think we just need to like, everybody needs to go, I'm so sick of this saying, but sure, let's use it. We all need to go touch grass. Literally all of us. We feel very drawn to books for different reasons, so it becomes a very like personal thing to us and we feel personally attached to these books, and there's something about them that clearly makes us feel seen or touches us, so it does feel like a part of our personal being are in these pages. But I personally cannot sit here and tell you why I'm drawn to some of the books that I'm drawn to. I mean, I could give you ideas like, hey, I like this book because I'm into psychology and I like the way it touched on this, but I can also sit here and tell you the books that I love. I could tell you what's wrong with them. I can talk about them from a critical sense. But even if I couldn't, the fact that I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. So let me enjoy what I enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys would like to see next. Maybe we'll read like 5-star reviews of our least favorite books. I don't know. Let me know what you guys would like to see. Thank you again for all of the support of this channel, and I will see you guys in the next video now that my heart is completely shattered and ripped to shreds. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.